ನಿಷ್ಠೆ ಉಳ್ಳಾತಂಗೆ ನಿತ್ಯ ನೇಮದ ಹಂಗೇಕೆ, ಸತ್ಯ ಉಳ್ಳಾತಂಗೆ ತತ್ವ ವಿಚಾರದ ಹಂಗೇಕೆ, ಅರಿವುಳ್ಳಾತಂಗೆ ಅಗ್ಗವನಿ ಹಂಗೇಕೆ, ಮನಶುದ್ಧವುಳ್ಳವನಿಗೆ ಮಂತ್ರದ ಹಂಗೇಕೆ, ಭಾವಶುದ್ಧವುಳ್ಳವನಿಗೆ ಹೂವಿನ ಹಂಗೇಕೆ, ಕೂಡಲ ಚೆನ್ನಸಂಗಯ್ಯ ನಿಮ್ಮ ನರಿದಾತಂಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹಂಗೇಕೆ. Very good evening, members. CA Ravindra S. Kore, Chairman of Bangalore Branch of SRC of ICI, wholeheartedly welcome you all for the 99th Jnana Dasoha live webcast session from Bangalore Branch. The 2 days programs we have begin for the Navigating the Future Young Members Mentorship Program started yesterday. Yesterday, CA Dheeraj K. Sharma and Dr. Vivek Sharma has handled the session. And today we have two eminent personalities from Gurugram is going to handle the today's sessions. The first session is on art of scaling up the practice. It's been handling by CA Anshul Singhal from Gurugram. On behalf of all the viewers and managing committee members of Bangalore Branch, I wholeheartedly welcome CA Anshul Singhal for the today's session. Welcome you, sir. After that, we have a next session technology and CA. It is been handling by CA Arun Aggarwal from Gurugram. On behalf of all the viewers and managing committee members of Bangalore Branch, I wholeheartedly welcome CA Arun Aggarwal for the today's session. Welcome you, sir. Dear members, I wholeheartedly welcome you all for this 99th Jnana Dasoha live webcast session from Bangalore Branch. Yes, we have started our journey in 18th March and today, as per ICI guidelines, we reached to the 99th number, and the topic is today's topic is very important for even now young members. As I said yesterday, young means young for not only age, it's by mind also. So take is this today's topic, art of scaling up the practice and technology and CA. It is the wording is just listen that technology and CA. The how technology is important for. So that's the reason our objective to continues to have the more programs and in different topics. So and different personalities, the both the speakers from the northern part of India. So now it is that virtual opportunity is given us to connect very easily and short span of time they have agreed for our invitation and addressing our members for the session. Dear members, as you know that, as yesterday also said, today is the 99th program, and then when is the 100th program? Yes, it is on next 100th program is on 22nd January. It will be on 100th program. It will be on 17th state level conference Ashtavarna. All the 8 branches of Karnataka coming together and having Ashtavarna 2 days conference. Our beloved president of ICI Guptaji is inaugurating that program, and the link of the program will be sending to you very short in the this chat box. So why 15 days is gap is required? As yesterday also I told, in cricket after scoring 98 and 99, the whatever the batsman Sachin Tendulkar or Brian Lara, he will take some balls. So we are waiting for the preparation for grand event of. It will be a grand event, virtual event. We are planning. We are having spiritual session and entertainment program. That our charges will be for this 2 days program. It's a nominal amount of rupees 500. I know that amount is not important. The why I need to mention is this pandemic time. Yes, Bangalore branch is supporting the members. The whole 99 programs we have decided managing committee to not to charge from the members. Whole 99 programs we conducted without charges. Whether this decision, the charging or not charging is an important part, no, it is an inconvenience. If any senior members want to pay 100 or 200 rupees for the branch activities, he may find inconvenient. That inconvenient, we understand that amount is not important. Our Dasoha is important. So that's the reason Jnana Dasoha platform is given to all the across the globe. The speakers have addressed or Jnana programs. So definitely, I request the members who are attending today's program. Definitely, after finishing this program, they will register for the 100 program. With that note, I request, I once again welcome C. Anshul and C. Arun for today's program. I request our Bangalore Bank Secretary Srinivas to formally introduce both the speaker for the lecture. Over to Srinivas. Unmute Srinivas. Unmute and start.
Thank you, Chairman, for rendering welcome address. It's my proud privilege to give a brief introduction of both the young speakers on a very interesting today's virtual sessions on navigating the future young members mentorship program. Today we have two sessions. One is on art of scaling up the practice. It's going to be handled by Anshul Kumar, and another session is technology and CA. It's going to be handled by CA Arun Aggarwal. Now I give a brief introduction of Anshul Aggarwal. Is by qualification chartered accountant, honors graduate in commerce from Delhi University, regular speaker in seminars organized by various branches of ICA. Anshul Kumar has more than 15 years of experience with him in corporate tax and transfer pricing matters and has worked with big four firms for around 13 years. Anshul believes in technical thoroughness and assists various multinational clients in tax planning, compliance, and tax controversy management. Anshul has vast experience of supporting various multinational companies in formulating their tax and transfer pricing strategies. He has hands-on experience in setting up a global transfer pricing policy for his clients. He has undertaken various tax health check assignments and regularly advises clients on best compliances practice. Anshul has rich experience of serving clients from various sectors like telecommunication, manufacturing, and so many other sectors. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Anshul Kumar. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for a generous introduction. And thank you, Chairman, sir, Ravindraji, CA Ravindraji. Thank you, Secretary Saab. It's a pleasure to be, connecting with the Bangalore branch in SIRC. And truly, Chairman sir said that virtual events have given us this opportunity to freely interact across jurisdictions and across geographies without any hassle of physically traveling there. And it is something which is one of the biggest boon of COVID-19, I would say. And right, so we are, interacting with people across the globe itself, not just country. And I thank Arunji, who has been the past chairman of Gurugram branch. And I also thank CA Dheerajji, who is the present chairman of our branch right now, for holding so many of wonderful sessions. And they are also, expanding the interaction with so many other branches of ICAI, and collaboration is the key word. So these words, I would start my presentation. I would like to share something.
Sir,
can I share?
Can I interrupt you? I'll give introduction of Arunji also.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
We have with one more speaker for second technical session on technology and CA. Is going to be handled by CA Arun Aggarwal, ranker in CA final, FCA and LLB. Arun has about 15 years of post-qualification experience, of which he has spent about a decade working in multiple international investment banks, including UBS, Bank of Montreal, Deutsche Bank, Religare Capital Markets, has been consulting on startups, valuation, business structure, virtual CFO and digital transformation in finance for business. Has been part of Gurugram branch of ICA since 2016 and was chairman for 2019-20. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Arun Aggarwal. Welcome you, sir. Over to the speakers.
So I guess see Anshul Kumarji would be starting it, right?
Yes,
please.
I would just want to say thanks to the chairman, C. Ravindra Goreji, Secretary Srinivasaji, the whole team of Bangalore for having us over here. It's really a pleasure to be amongst amongst the best performing branch in the country. Yeah, I would also like to thank C. Dheeraj, who has kind of introduced me to Bangalore branch, and our co-speaker Anshul Bhai, who's a great friend. Would be eager to hear Anshulji's comments and presentation before I share my views on the technology. Thank you.
What Anshul?
Thanks a lot. Thanks. I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, visible, sir, visible.
Great. So thank you everyone for joining in, and today we will be discussing some traits about how to grow our practice, because there are a lot of opportunities in practice nowadays, and we are seeing that young members are more and more inclined towards joining practice rather than joining a company or a big job. So it becomes important for us to understand that what are the traits which we can use, and what are the good practices which we can use to scale up our practice, professional practice. And I will be discussing a few of my experiences, how I have done it in past, and how some of the big firms generally do it. What are the kind of principles they follow? What are the kind of good practices they follow in order to manage their practices, manage their businesses? So that is something which I will share with my experience, and I would be happy to take up queries in between as well as after the session. So first, nowadays we have seen that a lot of practice areas have developed within the CA profession, and one of the foremost and important things for a young member or even a experienced professional to do in its own practice is to choose the area of your specialization. So the area of specialization is becoming very, very important nowadays. Why it is so important is that the laws and regulations are gaining more and more complexity day by day. If you would see any area, income tax, be it income tax, transfer pricing, your goods and services tax, your foreign exchange regulations, your statutory audits, your internal audits, your financing domain, investment banking, even the startup arena nowadays is gaining itself a lot of momentum, and chartered accountants are specializing in helping and supporting startups itself, because startup domain has a lot of nuances in its own practice area. So one of the things is that one must concentratedly choose an area of specialization, and in fact one or two subjects must be chosen that I would like to specialize in this particular area and arena, and then efforts should be made to gain expertise and mastery over those subjects. So this will help you to create your own niche in the market. You will create your own specific area before the clients, that once this subject is concerned, the client should just think of your name. So that is how you choose your specialization, that I would like to do this particular area. Say for example, I have been doing corporate tax and international tax for past 15 years. Now what does it help you is that you keep on interacting with different clients in the same area but having different issues. So it gives you all round experience and all round expertise to handle different and challenging assignments at a later stage of time. Once you are in the second stage of your career, everyone would be looking to have a specialized kind of a knowledge base lying with a chartered accountant or a professional to support them in challenging situations, right? Say for example, we talk about hospitals or doctors. You would see that there are general physicians who would be doing some regular checkups, your regular maintenance, means your regular health checkups, or very normal medication for you. But there are specialists. There will be heart specialists, there will be brain specialists, there will be lung specialists. All these specialists would definitely be earning much more amount of fee, or they would be charging a premium because they are specialized in their particular field. So similarly, we should be specializing and choosing an area of our own comfort or our own interest area where we feel that we can excel, and that's where we should put in our efforts, more concentrated efforts in training ourselves, gaining much more technical skills, and also building our team around that. So that is how we choose the specialization and work around that. Also, the question which arises now is that if we choose a specialization but the client now says that we have to get everything done, if I specialize in income tax, what will happen to the GST, what will happen to the statutory audit, what will happen to the foreign exchange regulation, who will take care of those things? So it's good to collaborate also. You build your teams in such a way, you associate with your partners, you bring in more partners who have different specialization than you. In that ways, how does big firms generally grow? They grow on the basis of their human capital. So they have specialized people looking after specialized areas of practice. So once the client comes, they will pool in the resources of different specialization for a client assignment, then undertake the assignment and serve the client. So in that way, the client also gets service because he is dealing with specialized persons in a particular area of practice, and also the firm can get premium fees because they are bringing in expertise which is not there otherwise available in the market with other professionals. So that's how we should be doing. We should be choosing our own area of specialization. Anything, it can be a combination of specialization also. Say for example, direct tax, transfer pricing, and foreign exchange regulations, they generally go hand in hand, and you can accumulate some of the complementary skills in order to build up your specialization. And building up specialization does not at all mean that you will not look at other subjects at all. A working knowledge of all the subjects is very important. Say for example, if somebody is doing a statutory audit, he must be aware about what are the GST issues in a company, what are the income tax issues in a company, where are the capital coming from, whether there is a loan coming in, whether there is any prohibition on taking up loan, whether there is any black money law violation. So a statutory auditor will have to be aware about many things around the company or in the regulations. He cannot just say that I will look after only the accounting standard and I will look only into the financial statements. Similarly, a person who is looking after into GST, a transaction is being structured. So one must look at the income tax part also. So you structured a transaction from a GST perspective, but you didn't bother about looking at the income tax thing. So that can, be a showstopper for the client assignment. So building up specialization is one thing, but having a working knowledge of other fields of practice is also very important in order to build up and scale up the practice at a longer period of time. Now, the second trait, which is very important, is human capital. As a practitioner, as a professional, we are in human business, basically. We are not producing goods, we are not manufacturing anything, we are not trading anything. We are in the business of humans. Humans are rendering services, humans are receiving services, and we are also taking services from our team members. So our success depends upon the quality of the resources we have, the kind of human resources we have in our team, and the kind of quality they bring to the table while doing an assignment. That will matter that how big you can grow in your practice. Once you start investing in your team, you will feel that the kind of work they are able to accomplish was much more than what they were able to do earlier. They will be more technically competent. You should invest in technical trainings. You should also invest in soft skills of your human resources, of your team members. It's not just important to be very technically strong, but not being able to communicate with the clients. One must be able to communicate effectively with the seniors, with the juniors, with the clients. There must be empathy between the team members. The people must be cautious about how to communicate, what is the way of dealing difficult situations, how to handle stress, because ultimately these days professional work comes with stress. There is no denying about that. We have deadlines, we have to meet deadlines, we have to handle multiple clients, and in order to meet those requirements, we must invest in our human capital. Human capital is going to be the foundation of your practice, and one cannot ignore the investment of money and time with the team members. One must look at people do come and say that if we invest in people, if we invest in our team members, what will happen? They will leave us, they will go away, and our investment will go waste. It's not the case. Most of the big firms, which you see that second tier firms or the big tier firms, they invest in their people and they conduct a lot of trainings, technical trainings as well as soft skill training, because they believe that even if a person leaves us, he will go into the market, he will go into some other place, probably many will go into client places also at a later point of time. At that time, they will be the brand ambassadors of our, they will be alumni, they will be called our alumni. And when you have invested in them, they will obviously look up to your firm as someone who have nurtured them and who have made them capable of being where they are today. And that comes back, whatever you give, that will come back to you. And I am firm believer of the fact that when we treat our people well, the people will treat us well at a later point of time. So this is a give and take in any kind of personal relationship also. You have to invest in your human capital and see whatever work you are doing, how much can you delegate, how much authority you can give to your people and resources. So that's where you will be able to free up your time, right? And you will be able to do much more business development, you will be able to connect much more with the clients, your authorities, and in the fellow network. That will help you free up your valuable time to do much more important things rather than to just get being entangled into the day-to-day work of the practice. So that's why human capital investment is very, very important. Also, many times what happens is that the young professionals or the small practitioners, they just do with bare minimum human resources. So they will say that if we need 5 persons to do a work, we'll try to get it done by 4 people only, and we'll hire only 4 people, or at the most 5 people only. But what happens is that if there is an untapped opportunity which comes in at an unexpected time, you will not be able to handle that. So it's many times good to have certain bench strength. As you would have heard in cricket teams, that the bench strength is very important. You never know when a person will get injured. You never know when your team member will fall ill, fall sick, or you never know that when a person will leave immediately. The person might be willing to leave immediately for some personal reason or for better career opportunities. At that point of time, crucial times, it is very difficult to cope up the work pressure or to find a replacement at an odd hour. Therefore, it is also many times recommended that one should invest in bench strength also. It feels sometimes that we are paying some extra money to a person who is not contributing too much to our practice. He is sitting idle or probably sometimes not occupied as much as you would like to be. But having a bench strength, you never know that when some assignment will come, which you can, offer to a client your services, saying that I have the capacity to serve you at this odd time when you need this to be done urgently. And at that point of time, you can earn some premium service fee as well. So therefore, having a bench strength in your business and in your practice can be a very good idea. Moving on to the next item is that assign your value to your time. Many times we are not aware that how to value our time. And as I mentioned earlier, that we are not selling goods. We cannot place an MRP on a particular good, and we cannot manufacture multiple items over a period of time. Our time is our inventory. How judicially we use it and in what kind of assignments and what kind of clients we invested is the thing which will govern what kind of revenues we can earn. So therefore, we must assign a value to our time. We must find out, say for example, if I want to earn 50 lakh rupees in a particular year, so I must see that how many days I am working. Say for example, I work on a 5-day week. So I am working 5 days, 40 hours a week. Say for example, 8 to 10 hours I work. So I will have an inventory of 40 hours to 50 hours per week. So I can standardize it, say for example, 40 hours per week, and I will have 52 weeks in a year. So how many hours I have to work in a particular year? That is my inventory. I must see that there will be some holidays also out of that particular time period. There will be some sick leave also. I will probably go on some vacation also. So I would reduce that. Say for example, the reduced days come to 50 weeks. Now you should decide that I want to earn 50 lakh rupees in a year and I have this much of time during this year. So one must see that what is the value of my 1 hour of cost, or my per day, what should be the revenue I must be earning. Also, one must consider that we are not working full time. We are not just doing client assignments for the entire 8 hours of a day or entire 10 hours of a day or for the entire 12-month period. Our work is very seasonal kind of a thing. Many times, the traditional practices, the audit practices, the tax practices, they are seasonal businesses. There will be some seasons where you will be fully occupied. There will be some seasons where you will not be too much of occupation. You will not have too much of client assignments to do. So you must also discount your time in the sense that there will be some time you will connect with your clients, where there will be some meetings which will happen. So not every hour of your time is going to earn you money. Therefore, you must do some costing, do some backward calculation and see that whenever you are billing, you're invoicing, you're quoting a fee to your client, what is the value you should quote? You should estimate the time cost which you are going to incur. Say, for example, if some advisory memo comes to you, you have to give some advisory accounting opinion on a particular aspect. You must kind of do a backward calculation and see that if this accounting treatment has to be seen, what would I need to read? I'll need to read some accounting standards. I'll need to read some guidance note. I'll need to read some, previous precedents. I'll need to go through some balance sheets. So what kind of time? Say, for example, if you decide that, okay, this is going to take 30 hours of my time, or say, for example, 3 days of my time. So then it will give you a better idea of how to quote a fee to the client. That is something which we must take care and we must consider. Otherwise, what we generally do is we just contact the client, or client contacts us. He says that, boss, this work needs to be done at 10,000 cost. I need you to do this. This is I'm hard pressed on my budget. Many times you may also wish to accept that because of your relationship, but then you must be aware that what kind of time you are investing and what kind of revenues you could have earned if you would not have done this particular assignment. Or even if you're investing that extra time into an assignment, you will be able to show your client that, boss, I have done it for you in 10,000 rupees, but see, this is the time cost I've invested for you. So you must remunerate me in some other assignment or somewhere where the budget will allow you. And I must get some more work from you. Or even if there are many times what happens is that people, professionals, go and seek price hikes also. So it's not that once the cost is agreed or the fee is agreed, that is sacrosanct. Many times clients do appreciate that the time incurred has been much more than what was expected at the beginning of the time, at the beginning of the assignment. So at that point of time, these kind of cost estimates or these kind of timesheet, your assessment of time incurred on a particular assignment helps you, and it helps you in negotiating or renegotiating the fee with your client. So these are the basic traits of how you should assign value to your time and how you should manage your time also. So managing the timesheets from the team members is also very handy tool which comes in. So you can ask your team members to prepare a list of work which they have done in a particular week, or it can be daily, but daily can be onerous. So it can be either weekly timesheet or a bi-weekly timesheet, a fortnightly timesheet, wherein you can just ask your team members to list down the kind of assignments which they have done. And being a professional, we can very well gauge that what kind of time was required to accomplish a particular assignment, and whether the person is doing justice to the work or not, or whether they are taking much more time than expected. And this can help you assess the needs of the resources, whether they need any technical training, whether they need any assistance, or whether they are facing any challenge in doing the assignments. So these kind of tools, or very simple tools of Excel sheet, will help you in managing your practice well. Right? And sometimes it is also good to say no to the assignments. Many times what we see is that, okay, this fellow is my friend, he's my client, so he's been long client. If I don't do this assignment, he will feel bad. But once you assess your capabilities and assess your kind of expectations, then you can justify and you can say that, boss, this kind of budget I would not be able to help you, or even if I am going to be helping you, this is the kind of quality output I will be able to produce. So having a candid discussion and sometimes saying no to some assignments is also good. It helps you in making the client realize that your time comes for a value. It's not that you can come into a picture for any kind of fee quote. So this is very, very important to scale practice, because ultimately if you do all kinds of an n number of assignments, you will not be able to scale up your practice. Right. I hope that I'm clear till now. If you have any queries, I would be happy to answer. Do we have any queries on the chat box? I'm not able to see that. Okay, I'll move forward. So now what I'm talking about is another thing. It is called the Pareto analysis. It is a very, very good analysis to do, and the simple Pareto analysis formula means 80-20 ratio, 80-20 formula. It is very simple. If you would look around yourself, you would see that the top 20 kind of items or issues or people around you, the top 20 people would be contributing 80% value around you, whereas the 80% of issues or items or the challenges which you have been faced with will be putting around only 20% of the value in the ecosystem. So the 80-20 formula is that because the 80% of volume seems too high, we get entangled in those kind of things, too much of value or too much of significance in the life around us or in the practice. So what happens is that we must identify the top 20 value contributors around us. It can be your clients, it can be your assignments, it can be your team members also, right? So who are the top team members who are helping you in doing the big assignments? Who are the big clients, the top 20% clients who are giving you most of your revenues? If you would put down a list of your practice, you would identify immediately that these are the top 5 practice that are paying me substantial or significant amount of revenues, and the kind of assignments which I am able to do much more better than the other assignments. Say, for example, I spoke about specialization. So this specialization will be one of your specialization that in the entire gamut of the professional arena, you will choose top 3 or 4 subjects or 2 subjects of your specialization, which will give you your substantive and significant revenues. So this is very, very important. We must, keep on estimating or keep on evaluating the kind of things which we are doing in a particular year. What you can do is see, for example, in April or May, it's generally somewhere more of a lenient season or a lenient period where we can go back to the drawing boards and evaluate what kind of things we have done in the past year. You can just make out a list of all your clients and see that what kind of revenues you have earned from those clients. You can do sit amongst the partners or the management and see that what kind of performance have been put forward by the team members, and who are the top clients, who are the top assignments, which were the top assignments of the past year, which kind of who were the top resources of your practice who have contributed to your, and you can try to focus more and more and do some more mining with those clients. You can connect with those CFOs, with those management or the shareholders, and you can put more efforts into growing those clients which have the potential to become big. Also, out of the 80%, there will be a few of the clients which have the potential, but they have not reached potential right now. So following this 80-20 formula in our day-to-day practice life output. So therefore, 80-20 formula is something which I generally follow. I try to keep a track of what kind of issues I'm faced with, what kind of assignments I'm faced with. I kind of prioritize this. So you will be able to prioritize also whatever kind of things you're doing by applying this 80-20 formula. And by applying 80-20 formula, I'm not saying that you just forget about the rest of 80%. It's not that. The 80% also has to be taken care of, but with not that much of focus, or with not that much of time being spent on those issues which it does not require, right? So this is how probably we can build around ourselves. We can see that what kind of things we need to do, and we must prioritize, and the priorities keep on changing also. So it's not that you have done this analysis once for all and it will be, sacrosanct for the all times to come. It has to be revised, it has to be, revisited, probably every quarter or every 6 months, at least in 1 year. You must visit and recap and revisualize what you have done in the past year. Was good, whether you spent more of the assignments which were not worth it, what kind of new kind of assignments you need to focus on, which kind of clients you need to focus on, which kind of clients you need to approach and seek work from. So these kind of things you must look, and you must practice and form it a part of day-to-day life. So that will help you in managing your time very effectively. Now another thing which comes which comes as a blockage in scaling up the practice is the blocked working capital. Now what we see is that there is a lot of work that's blocked in the practice. It's a very, very common thing chartered accountants to go after the clients and see, boss, payment kar do, we need the money. So there are a lot of things which we can do in order to remove the blockage of our working capital. First of all, we must agree to a fees before initiating the assignment. Most of the time, what we do is, okay, this client is old client, this is a known person, he's a friend CFO, so okay, we have got the work. Fees we will discuss later on, we'll do the work and then discuss the fees. It's going to be very, very challenging at one point of time, because most of the time clients come back and say that, boss, I was not expecting this kind of fee code once the assignment is complete. So it is better to manage the expectation at the very beginning itself. It's better to agree to a fee, whatever the fee may be agreed. You may wish to agree to a lower fees, but it is good to agree a fees, right? Because ultimately, not do this exercise beforehand, it will be a mess at a later point of time. You will have distorted expectations. Client was expecting 100 rupees, you were expecting 1000 rupees, and there will be much more discomfort and disconnect between the client and you. So it's better to say that I am expecting 1000 rupees out of this particular assignment, and even if the client says that, no boss, my budget is 100, you can then decide whether you want to put in the your time in this particular assignment. Maybe you may decide to go forward because you have to value relationships, but ultimately you will be keeping in your mind that I have put in this effort, right? So you will be not repenting at a later point of time that I was not aware and I was expecting 1000 rupees and I am not getting it. So that is the matching of expectations in the client and the professional. That is very important. Second thing is that once we agree to an assignment, there many times what happens is that we keep on the fag end, means end of the assignment itself. So many times what happens is that there are progress assignments wherein you achieve certain milestones during the assignment period. In those assignments, that, boss, if I will achieve this particular milestone, I will bill 15%. If I achieve second milestone of this particular thing, I will bill 40%. So it's not contingent. It's not that you are billing on a contingent basis. It's just that the completion of a particular process is done, and you will say that once this process is complete, say for example, you are doing a statutory audit. So you might say that, boss, if I do these particular things in your statutory audit, I will be billing 50% of my fees. If I complete your review of balance sheets, and if I am at the signing stage, I will take 90% of my fees. Many times it happens that somehow the balance sheet signing gets delayed. In that particular case, the client may come and say that the balance sheet didn't get signed at the due date and therefore I will not pay you. So in, say for example, income tax assessments or any type of GST assessments, you can say, or any kind of litigation proceeding, you can say that once we file your submissions before the authority, we will charge 40%. If there is any further query and we respond to those queries, there can be 2 hearings or 3 hearings. You can fix the milestone on hearing basis. Like if we conduct 3 substantive hearings, not the adjournments, if we conduct these 3 hearings, we will charge you another 40%. So you are liquidating your invoices and you are not stressing your working capital so that it gets blocked till the finishing of the assignment, and you will get the entire money at the end of the assignment itself. So it helps on keeping the budgets of the client also, because ultimately if you are going to bill it at the fag end, the client would also feel up that okay, I have to pay so much in one go. He will also break up the invoice, say that okay, take 50% now, I'm crunched with my budget, I will pay next time, I will accommodate next time, so give me some credit period. So these kind of things can be avoided when you're billing in small milestones, and can help you keep your working capital also flexible, so as to you're not too stretched in putting in your money into the practice. So that's where you have to really free up your working capital and keep reviewing whether you have to bill it. Also, whenever these milestones are achieved, whenever you have agreed to whatever kind of milestone, even if you have agreed for an end of assignment billing, as soon as the billing assignment is complete, you must invoice. What happens most of the times with our professionals is that we have done the assignment, they will say, okay, we will bill sometime, we are busy in some more assignments, there is some other occupancy which is occupying our time, and therefore we forget to bill itself. And then what happens is that when there is a time lag between the completion of the assignment and the billing, the client tends to say, okay, I will see. You are yourself delaying the payments which you can receive at an early stage. So it happens many times. Even if what happens with professionals is that you are not keeping track of the billing. You have assigned your team members that they are taking care about the completion of assignment also and the billing also. So if you have delegated these responsibilities, at least in a week, once in a week, or at least fortnightly, you must review what are the open positions, what are the open assignments, what are the open billings, means the assignment have completed but the invoicing has not been done. It will give you good track of your assignments being completed on time, your billing being done on time, and also try to whether the are coming some additional or some supernatural kind of credit period being availed by your clients or not. Then you can personally speak to them. So this will help you in managing your business ultimately. Well, see, we are working for money, means professionals do earn, we are in practice for earning our money. So if we are blocking too much of capital, too much of resources in our working capital, it is going to harm our practice at a later point of time. Also, one of the very important things which the good firms and large practices do is that they keep on some buffer for the out-of-pocket expenses. Then whenever you are doing certain assignment, you can agree with your client that, say for example, we'll agree to a 2% or 3% or 4% of fee as an out-of-pocket expenses. The out-of-pocket expenses will be charged on an actual basis on the kind of expenses which you have incurred, but you must intimate your client that, boss, there will be going to be some out-of-pocket expenses in rendering these services, and there is going to be a budget for this. We are estimating a budget of, say for example, 3% or 4%, and if during the course of the assignment there is certain extra expense which has been incurred, because there may be some requirement to incur that expense during the course of the business, and if that has been incurred, immediately intimate the client that, boss, this is something which we have incurred and we are intimating you, and if it is possible, try to intimate in advance that we are going to incur, this is the kind of requirement which is coming up, and there might be some out of budget OPs which may be incurred for this particular assignment, and we hope that you are fine with it. Ultimately, this will reduce burden on your pocket. So resources are very much required for scaling up your business, scaling up your practice. The more you save in your pockets, the more you will be able to scale up. So therefore, it's very, very important to see and review the working capital situation at a very regular point of time, regularly keep updates. And at a senior management level, I have been part of big four firms, and every big four firm is, I must say that they are very, very cautious about how much kind of working capital it is blocked. How do they compute? They say that, say for example, if you are doing an assignment for 1 month, so that 1 month period is also blockage of your capital because you have paid salaries. Then you will invoice. Say for example, if you take 15 days in invoicing, then 15 days is also blocked. And then the client takes 45 days to pay you up. So what happens is that ultimately you have incurred 3 months of time period for realizing your money. And 3 months is, I'm saying, very less period of time. Many times if you review your regular capital, working capital situation, you will feel that you are blocking much more time in your blocked working capital. So therefore, if you have to scale up your practice, one, very careful about the working capital management. Now moving on, another part of scaling up is the risk. Then when you put your feet on the accelerator for the practice, there comes risk with the speed. So how should one mitigate the risk? So there is a saying that the ability of the car to run fast does not depend upon the accelerator, but on the brakes, on the braking system, the strong braking system which it has. So the more strong braking system a car has, the more speed your driver can achieve. The driver will be much more comfortable in achieving higher and higher speed. The Formula One's races, they have highest of speeds and they have the highest of braking systems in those cars also. So once we are scaling up, we should not lose sight of the risk in the practice. Our practice is governed by rules, regulations, laws. We are bound by the ethics which are prescribed by the Institute of Chartered Accountants. There are various rules and regulations in the income tax law, the GST law, the statutory audit procedures, the Companies Act, that you have to be independent while providing these kind of services. And more of the time, if you are handling certain assignments, you also run a risk that client may come and say that you didn't handle the assignment professionally. So you were expected to these particular things also, but you didn't do this. And they may try to, put up a blame if things go wrong. So what should we do in order to mitigate the risk of the practice? Probably we cannot entirely eliminate the risks, but we have to do whatever we can to mitigate this. So first of all, we must have some engagement letter, an assignment letter, which lists down all the scope of work, all the scope limitation. Scope limitation means that what are the things which you will not do, right? And your fee code, your out-of-pocket expenses. I faced one time that we had written that we will charge a fee of, say for example, 1 lakh rupees. Now, at the point when we charged 1 lakh rupees and we put service tax on that, it's an old case. So when we put service tax on that, he said that in engagement letter, you have written only 1 lakh rupees. So 1 lakh rupees is all inclusive. You cannot charge extra to me, right? So those kind of things we must write, that whenever we are writing the fee, we must say that the applicable goods and services tax shall be extra over and above charged at the applicable rates. We must write applicable rates because the rates may change someday. And many times what happens is our assignments are long. So if the assignments are long-term assignments, we are entering into multiple year contracts of service. In those situations, we must say that we will be charging the applicable statutory rates or statutory taxes over and above our fees. As I mentioned in the last time, that we must put a buffer, or we must take into consideration the out-of-pocket expenses. So we may write in the engagement letter that we will be charging out-of-pocket expenses also. We must put a limitation clause in the engagement letter where we say that even if in the case of any breach of contract, in the breach of terms, the claim which you can take from us will be only limited to the professional fees which we have charged from you. It's not that if there is a loss of some loss during the assignment or because of the actions of the team members or the professional, they can charge unlimited money. So putting these kind of clauses in the engagement letter helps you in mitigating the risks of the assignment. Also, you can put in some confidentiality clauses, because the confidentiality clauses which the clients put in are generally very, very wide and broad. You must review the confidentiality clause and say that if the information is already available in public domain, we would be free to share it. If the information is asked from by the statutory authorities in compliance of certain laws, we will be free to intimate information or show our working papers to the regulatory authorities. So these kind of things we should be building in our build in our engagement letters. Also, one of the important things which I generally do is that I put an interest clause also in the engagement letter. That, say for example, if you are not paying me the invoice value after 45 days, we are free to charge a simple interest of 1% per month. Generally, I have not seen this clause being invoked, but many times what happens in the case of multinational clients where you are dealing with, the management is aware about these things. So they generally don't want to get even into those situations that we will be asked by someone to pay interest. So they many times become cautious about making the payments within the due credit period which you have allowed. So this can also help you mitigating the risk of recovering your money, right? And in the scope of work, you should list down what kind of scope you have agreed. You should also list down that this scope does not include. Many times there are certain kind of scope of work which is associated with it. Say for example, I am an income tax person, so I am giving more examples from income tax. Say for example, you are filing a tax return, right? So in the tax return assignment engagement letter, you must write that this will not include any on. Say for example, if there is an addition or if the assessment notice is opened up, many times I have seen even in big firms, the client comes and say that, boss, you filed the return, why this notice has come, or why this adjustment has been made in 143.1. So many times it is a system driven thing. If you keep on replying all these kind of notices, you will just be doing free kind of charity work for all those clients. So therefore it is very, very important to say the scope limitations and to agree onto those scope limitations, which will help you in mitigating the risk and to focus your energies towards the scope of work which has been agreed during the assignment, right? Then what another very important aspect of mitigating the risk is giving disclaimers. So the disclaimer is very, very important at making any presentation, making any advisory, or whenever you are doing certain audits or certification. It is allowed. You have been able to verify what you have not been able to verify, whether the things you have verified were good enough to enable you to form an opinion, or if you were not able to verify certain things and it has a material impact on your opinion or your audit, then you must put up those disclaimers. Similarly, in certain advisory assignments, if you are giving certain business advisory or another kind of tax advisory, you must say that this particular advisory is based on the laws as were prevalent on the date of the advisory memo. And you should also mention that we will not be responsible. It is not sacrosanct that this advisory memo will be accepted as such by the authorities. So these kind of disclaimers are very, very important to form part of your practice, and you must imbibe and see these kind of disclaimers are available on professional repositories. Your professional seniors will be having this. You should take those recourse. You should take those disclaimers. You should ask your seniors, even if you are not having it, and you should take a guidance that what should be the disclaimer I should be putting in a particular assignment, right? So these kind of things help in mitigating the risk. And nowadays what happens is that a professional indemnity insurance is also there, some of the PSU insurance companies are providing you professional indemnity insurance. So one should also consider that whether I am now scaling up at a level where I should take up professional indemnity insurance, because whenever we are dealing with multiple things, multiple clients, multiple assignments, there might be some iota of chance where there might be overlooking, of certain facts, or there might be inadvertent error in the assignment which you have done. So in those circumstances, these kind of professional indemnity insurances do come in very handy, and you should. And what I have seen, that these are not too expensive; these are very reasonably priced, and they come in multiple packages. So this is also something which you can try and mitigate the risk, because ultimately, whenever the practice grows, whenever your business grows, there will be associated risks along with it. So one cannot have entirely risk-free practice or risk-free business. This is a dream. So we should be mitigating our risks also. Now, the last point which I have right now to say is that we must also build personal connect. So our profession is very monotonous kind of thing. CA profession is not glamorous profession. We don't get into too much of hype. We are not hyped professionals. We, are kind of background workers, backroom office workers, wherein we are putting in a lot of efforts to deal with the client issues, challenging issues. But we are never, in the forefront, or we are not put in the limelight. The finance function of a company also is not very, uh, outgoing or outspoken kind of thing. So therefore, as CA professional, we must try to build some personal connect with the clients. It may be as simple as asking about their personal well-being, about their health, checking about their, kids, what they are doing, or just for a cup of tea for half an hour. It will be good. So focus, as I said, that in the Pareto analysis, focus on your 20% of clients who are adding 80% of the value, and put more concentrated efforts to connect little bit beyond work also. So discuss certain other issues beyond work which are not related to the work, which can be around economy, which can be around the little bit of politics or something. It can create a lot of trust and confidence between the two persons. When you are gelling with the persons or your clients beyond work, it builds a lot of trust and confidence. You get to know the thinking process of that person, and that person also get to know how you think and what is the thinking, thought process of yours. So this helps in building much more trust and much more confidence. And when the trust and confidence builds up, the assignments are very smooth. You can get access to the information very easily. If there is any issue, if there is a challenge between the teams of the client and the team, your team, you can resolve it with the senior person, right? So this is how you try to work beyond the professional arena and do some personal connect. It's also, good to wish them on birthdays or anniversaries. A simple message, a happy anniversary message or a happy birthday message. It's good to know about what is their birthday. And when we are doing, professional work, we generally kind of get to connect with them. They will also be celebrating. They will be on leave sometimes. So at that point of time, we must be aware that we should not be disturbing them in their personal space. So these kind of soft skills are also needed to scale up the practice. It is not just monotonous that we are very technically strong, we are best in the practice, nobody is greater than us in this business. Sometimes that doesn't help in winning the assignment. There are very softer issues also, sometimes, that there can be, some professional dilemma which your client may be going through. Even if you don't have a solution, but if you listen to it, if you can just help him around in solving those issues, that can go a long way. So this is something which we should kind of try doing in. And this is it from my side. I would be happy to take queries. Surajji. If I can see.
Anshul, while somebody comes, I guess there are a few questions. You might want to take some questions. And
I'm access to the chat also. There is one question from Shingi Pampili. I am from a growing tier 2 city and have started practice which is 2 years old. Clients would come for a lower fees comparing with others. What factors can be considered for quoting of fees? So, Shingiji, first of all, obviously this is a challenge which young CAs generally face, and people do come in for comparing the cost, the other fellow, the other, how much discount you can give. And if you keep on giving discounts, there is no end to it. Because ultimately, if this is the kind of client, they will take quote from you also and then go to somebody else. So one must see that what kind of expertise do you have. There is a way of building up expertise also. There is interact with professionals. And when you do your expertise, I agree that during the initial phases of your practice, probably you may not be able to command the fee which you should be earning, but at least you should be commanding certain minimum level of fees that you would be able to decide, right? And as I mentioned that the time cost, that the inventory of the hours, you should try to track it. You should just put a very simple formula that you will have 5 days a week, probably you will have 15 days of vacation or 10 days of sick leave, right? If you reduce all these days and multiply with 8 hours, you will get the inventory of hours which you can work in a particular year. Out of these hours also, there will be certain portion of time which will be ideal, or which you will be investing in reading things, which you will be investing in attending seminars, which you will be investing in networking with your clients. So then you will be left with a residuary hour estimate that this is the inventory of hours I have in a particular year. And if I want to earn, for example, 1 lakh rupee per month, 12 lakh rupees. So I must earn a fee of this much rupee per hour. Also, you must also see that you will be incurring certain office expenses also, right? So you must also estimate that your fee, the per hour fee which you are deciding, must also take care of the office expenses you are bearing. And similarly, you should also see that whatever team members you are working with, what kind of cost they are incurring. So if you are not spending time on the assignment, but your team member is going to spend more of the time, then you should also estimate what kind of time your team member is going to spend, what kind of revenues you want to earn from that time spent. So comparison is obvious, and not just with young CAs. I can tell you, people from, I mean, they come to us also. They try to compare, and are that this happens many times. But this is something which we need to take into our strides and politely refuse if we are not able to do it sometime. And once you build up this time sheet, I have seen that when you put up and tell the client, say that boss, you are giving this work to me. This work will take at least 2 days of mine. It will, incur 18-16 hours of my time. And because this is the kind of revenue the time cost I have and kind of person I am experienced of. So this particular salary would be there. You can say very frankly that a 2-year person will be earning, say for example, 8 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees of salary anywhere, a chartered accountant. So as a chartered accountant, I should command this kind of value for my time. So that is how, with polite communication and with justification backed up by the time cost estimates, you can, emphasize upon the clients that this is something which I should be receiving as a fee assignment. And I'm not saying that it will happen all time. You'll have to take judgments, you'll have to value the relationship which you carry with that particular person, but somewhere it will give you an idea that how you can pursue to seek a fee, right? Certain query. Any other person? So I think Arunji, you are on mute. Arunji, you are on mute.
I guess I'm audible now.
Yes, yes.
I'm actually waiting for somebody from Bangalore branch to give me access to share my presentation. I've actually dropped a message to the IT. I'm just waiting for them to revert back to me. Yeah.
Okay. So Arunji, what is your experience in men's? I have not spoken about the technology because technology is also very, very important in scaling up nowadays, and digitization is the key word. So apart from the technology which you will be sharing your thoughts, what is your experience in scaling up the practice?
I guess the one thing that you talked about, which is about collaboration, I guess this is something which has to happen. Whatever you do, one cannot be an expert in everything, right? So
Absolutely.
collaboration is something which is the most important. The client would want information as well as the best of the services available at the best price, right? And he would ideally be comfortable with you, if you've reached that level. And in that kind of a situation, I guess collaboration is the only way wherein you can say that I am providing the best of the services. Still, I am the one for the same, right? So I guess using technology, doing collaboration, I guess these are the two key things which has to happen before you start saying that I can scale it up beyond say 5 members team and also.
Right, right.
I guess I have been given the right to share my presentation. Seems like I have to start straight away. I'll just share my presentation and we'll wait for a confirmation from your side if it is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
It is visible. Great. So thanks a lot, Anshul Bhai. It was such a nice celebration from your side. A few eye openers for me as well, and it was a very just and to the point discussion that you had. Thanks a lot. Thanks to the Bangalore branch and the chairman, secretary, and the whole team for giving me this opportunity to speak on this topic, which is very close to my heart. The technology and how is it going to have an impact on the way we are working. Special thanks to and special congratulations to the whole Bangalore for completing a century of programs. It was a news to me, completing 99 programs. Times when people were saying that probably things are not going our way. You kind of did it just the other way around, right? Within 9 months, 99 programs. Hats off to the whole Bangalore branch for the thing. Navigating the future and specific focus towards the young members and their mentorship program. I've been giving the topic which is about the technology. The 2 days you discussed about opportunities that are there for a young chartered accountant, may it be in the form of the IAS and the ministries that CA Dheeraj Sharma talked about yesterday, may it be about teaching, research, being a registered valuer, data analytics, be a CFO, CIO, COO, or be a consultant. One thing which is about common in whatever opportunities that was discussed yesterday was that we have been taught to be the best in finance. We have been taught to be a finance professional from the very first day. As soon as we said that we want to be a chartered accountant, we were taught to be a finance professional. Today we discussed about the tricks of scaling up the practice. And now here I am talking about how technology can kind of help you in whatever you do in being a finance professional. So for me, when I discuss my views today, my basic thought process would be that the audience here is the chartered accountants, the young chartered accountants who are finance professionals budding to be the best professional, best consultants, a CFO, CEO, CIO of CEO of some of the bigger organizations in here, but who are closer to being a small and medium practicing or a starting kind of a professional. Please confirm if this is the right audience. Let me know in your chat if you believe that this is the right way to understand you for me, because my pitch would be accordingly. I'll mold my pitch accordingly for you. Friends, as we start, what's going to be the takeaway for us? What's going to be the real discussion point for us today? I'll always be available to hear your views, and I guess we should make Q&A portion as interactive as possible, because that's the only way wherein I can understand whether you are able to understand what I'm saying, and I can understand what is the topic which is actually closer to you versus me, right? The best part about technology is that it is available. It is making possible for me to sit here in Gurgaon, reach out, talk to you there in Bangalore, but at the same point in time, it is a one-sided communication, and probably one-sided communication might not reach you. So I will be very happy to hear from you in the Q&A, whatever question that you want, whatever comes in your thought process, please do start, pouring that here in the Q&A session. So as we start, what's going to be the discussion point for us today? Let me give you a very basic example of how I see technology having an impact on the way we are working. About all of you have ordered stuff from Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeals of the world, right? What happens as soon as you go to the Amazon.com's website and say buy now? At that point in time, as soon as you say buy now, the system comes into play. It confirms you that the order has been taken. The money gets transferred from your account to Amazon's account. The seller gets a notification that this product has been sold at this price. The logistics partner gets to know that so and so product has to be picked up from so and so place for so and so at so and so time for delivery to so and so place. At the same point in time, the compliance of GST and other stuff starts happening at Amazon's client, at Amazon's level. And at the same point in time, if at all there is a board meeting going on at Amazon's head office, probably this transaction will be included into the MIS at that point in time. Single transaction getting recorded in a fraction of time. And there are lakhs of transactions which are happening in every hour, and during the times when there are offs or there are promotional events going on, it can actually go in like lakhs in 15 minutes or so. So what has technology done? A simple transaction which is included probably 10 different people, it has brought all of them together and is allowing you to scale it up. Scale it up to a level wherein anybody across the globe can go to one particular website and buy whatever they want. With this background, how does technology, how can technology have an impact on whatever way we as finance professionals are working? Just a minute, give me a moment, please. Yeah. So here we are here to discuss as in how does technology how has technology evolved around for us as a finance professionals. uh, how relevant it is for us. You would say that, okay, whatever Flipkart process that you talked about has kind of helped me in buying stuff much quicker, and it has kind of helped me rather than having an impact on me as a finance professional. Probably yes. I would say there is another example of driverless cars. It's such a great thing to happen in our lives, and we would not be dependent upon the drivers for driving our car, and it's going to be good for us. But does it have an impact on me as a finance professional? Probably no. But please tell me, has mobile payment had an impact on the way we are delivering our services? Has the evolution of AI and ML in the business transactions had an impact on the way we are dealing with the finance today? So what is happening is that when the technology is taking over most of the business processes, it will have an impact on the way data is getting generated. And when it has an impact on the way data is getting generated, it will have an impact on the way we account for it, the way we record it, the way we prepare reports based on it, and the way we analyze it. And probably that's what we do, right? As a chartered accountant, we are trained to be the best in knowing how to record a transaction using accounting standards, making sure that the same records are used for the best of the purposes as far as the compliances are concerned, making sure that we report them correctly, and the most important, making sure that the reports are used and analyzed properly so that a right decision can be made. Right. So the relevance, how relevant the technology is for us, is going to be discussed. We'll be touching upon that. Once we know that what is technology, how it's going to be having an impact on us, I guess the key and the reason why all of us are here talking about it is how can I digitally transform my practice, keeping a focus on the small and medium practitioner, or a small or a first 5 years kind of a professional into the CA profession. But once you've discussed that, I guess the most important thing then is that, okay, these are the good part, but what are the risks? We'll discuss and we'll touch upon the risks which are there around us. Right. So that's gonna be the journey for next 1 hour or so. You can, as I said, I'm available on the Q&A. Please do reach out to me. Let me know what's your thought. I'll keep on asking questions. If somebody comes back, I'll be very happy to hear that. Uh, uh, so, uh, so as we move forward, I guess the first and the foremost question would be: we said that evolution of technology in finance. Can somebody please let me know where exactly are we in terms of technology and usage of technology in finance? In the journey of past 30 years, we have seen, the way we work has evolved from a manual single entry system to a double entry or triple entry system, and an open ledger system rather. What exactly has changed? What is it that has changed significantly from so to say bahi khata time to today's time where everything happens just real time? Yeah. So what has happened over past 30 to 40 years is that we are seeing that the books are being maintained, and the records are being maintained on literally a real time basis. Go 40 years back, the accounts were being maintained in single entry manual accounting systems, wherein the records were maintained for compliance, for internal consumption purposes, but the reporting or the closure used to happen only towards the end of the year. And you would appreciate that this was there across the country, right? There are parts in the country wherein there are festivals which are, when the previous books were closed and the whole profit or loss situation for the full year was calculated, and hence people used to move to the next year. From there, we reached to Tele and Busy, which kind of helped us make sure that the accounts and books are maintained on a regular basis. And given that it was partly automated system, the reports were available to us as and when we needed. Then we reached to the ERP, when things were kind of interconnected, but somehow you still know that, okay, for the small and medium-sized business, ERP was not the perfect fit. But today we are at a level wherein The real-time report is the call for the day. About everybody that you talk to any kind of client of yours, may it be the employer, may it be the client, may it be government, anybody you talk to, you would know that the real-time report requirement is there. Uh, Real time could be a week, could be a day, could be a month, but the person does not want to wait for a particular time before he can actually, go ahead and say that, okay, you can give me the information. I'll give you a very simple example. You would have seen some of the income tax e-assessment, questionnaires that have started coming in. The type of questions that are there, they literally ask about everything, about the books, about every big line item in the balance sheet. They have gone ahead and asked for the full details, and the timeline that they give is about a week. Why? Because the expectation is that about all the books are being maintained in the computer systems, and hence the data should be available at a click of a button. About all of us do go back and crib that, my client, when he comes back to me, he is literally in a hurry. He just asks for information and he just needs that. People who are working with the businesses who are in the industry would agree that, the management, as and when they ask for an information, they want it right away. And once that information is there, the next question that comes from them, the answer has to be just immediate, right? So effectively, we are moving towards a state where the books of accounts, the reports, recording has to happen on a real-time basis, and that's where the technology starts becoming all the more important for us. Wait a minute, let me ask you one question. Is technology new to us? We just talked about the evolution, and we see that we have started using different kind of technologies. The Tele 4.5 was a technology at that point in time. Obviously, the Prime is a new phase, but we had started using some technical tools at the start of the century, right? What are other technology tools that we are already using? And I would try and link it with what is required for us when we talk about technology. So we are already using mobile and WhatsApp for about all the modes of businesses, and this is something which is kind of comforting for us that, we are again, the India is the country which has a very high acceptance ratio in terms of technology. So is in our case as well, the chartered accountants are using mobile and WhatsApp for all the modes of businesses. This is the mode of business. All the updates are available. Within 5 minutes of an extension date, you would have got 25 messages from different friends of yours letting you know that the extension has come for the income tax filing due date, and so on and so forth. But all of us are using compliance tools, so that's again a technology which is helping us, making sure that the compliances are managed better. Our clients these days, you are coming from the Silicon Valley of India, so you all would agree that your clients are generally happy with an open and are open for the new ways of accounting and finance management. The QuickBooks of the world are much more acceptable now versus what it was. The knowledge is very easily available these days. Google is around you. You do not have to go ahead and buy the income tax ready reckoner these days. I'm sure most of you who were using ready reckoner probably 5 years back would not have bought it now. There was a time when a chartered accountant's office used to be the one wherein a lot of those law books, the income tax books used to be there. One full wall which is full of books. That was the scene of a typical lawyer and a chartered accountant's office. But these days, you look at my office, just no books at all. There are Grammarly which helps you make sure that whatever you're writing is good. You do not have to be an expert in English for being able to write. There are AI based writing tools which are available which can actually write on your behalf. You let it know the topic and it can write something on your behalf which is free from plagiarism. So we are in a times when the technology is around us and there are so many things which we are using which are tech enabled, that we as individuals are very well placed to be able to use any technology which comes our way. But then why is technology a hot topic today for us? We said that there is an evolution in our profession wherein the client, and when I say client, it will be anybody, right? It can be a government, it can be my client, the businessman, it could be their management, and so on and so forth. Anybody who is a receiver or a user of the data, he is in a hurry to receive the data. I, as an individual, as a professional, am very well versed with the technologies which are around me. Then why are we discussing topic? Why are we discussing technology as a topic for us? Why is it a hot topic for us? It is a hot topic. Why? Because the businesses are changing. You know, 20 years back, probably 30 years back, what was a big business? Which business would you call a big business? You would have called a business as a big business when it comes with multiple multiple locations. There are multiple factories which are running, or you would say industrialists were thought to be the big businessmen, right? So industries, manufacturers were the ones who were thought to be the biggest big businessmen, right? Today, you would see that there is a startup. There is a startup which started probably 2 years back, is generating lakhs worth of data transactions. Probably they might not be making money, but they are big in terms of their operations. Because operation these days is not dependent upon the number of employees, it is not dependent upon the money that you make. It depends upon the speed with which the information is disseminated. And Uber, take an example of Uber. In India, they would not have more than 50 employees, and they are able to manage the whole operations. Is it a big business? Yes, it is. In your clients, if you close your eyes and just think about it, you would find many startups who have not made money but are able to generate multiple line items of transactions per day. And for me as a business, as a accounting professional, for me as a finance professional, my work is about the same. Why? Because the more the number of transactions, the more time I have to spend in making sure that they are recorded well, they are read well, and a right decision is taken after a complete and right review of the same. If you have done some work on any of your startup client which is working on a B2C platform wherein the money is being received from Paytms, your clients who are online sellers, or new startups which are tech-based B2C startups, you would see that the number of transactions they generate are very high. And when the number of transactions are higher, you as a finance professional have to be the one who understands the way these transactions are happening. You have to be the one who understands how to make sure that the bigger set of transactions are very well captured in the books of accounts and are well read. As an auditor, you have to be the one who understands how the transactions are happening and how does system read these transactions. You have to make sure that the reconciliations are right, because a small miss could lead to a miss of a big liability from probably the contingent liability portion, right? So there are multiple things which are getting changed around us. We talked about the scale up. Anshul Kumar talked about the scale up. He talked about multiple things. And towards the end, he told me that, see, I didn't touch technology. But today, when we say that, okay, I need to scale up my practice, how would you scale up your practice? Okay, you would want to touch upon and increase your human capital, but probably to manage that human capital, you would need a technology tool to make sure that at the end of the day, you know what's happening where. You might want to set up a system wherein a lot of collaboration happens between 5, 6, 7 partners of yours. But how do you make sure that a right set of learning management is available there, wherein any learning that is grasped by one partner is available to be read and used by the other partner? How do you make sure that data, any work that one partner has done, the partner 2 and 3, when they start working with the same client, they are able to collaborate with the partner 1 to make sure that things are not duplicate. and the efforts are not getting duplicated, right? So technology comes into play wherein it helps you scale up your business. And at these times, uh, if I were given an option to either use a robot or a human for specific set of tasks which are regular process oriented, I would ideally want a system to work on it. Why? Because it will be cheaper for me. It will be doing the same work with the same kind of quality over and again without asking for any breaks. And three, I do not have a risk of losing it. Why? Because my learning and knowledge remains with me. Another way to look at it could be that as an auditor, how do I aid control on whatever I work on? I always say, and I guess it's pretty much acceptable to everybody today these days, that as an auditor, our job is shifted from, or probably the expectation is shifted from, us giving a true and fair view to us giving a true and correct view. Now, that's a different argument whether it's correct or not, but we all of us agree that there is an expectation from the readers that if it has been audited, the auditors have checked the correctness of the financials, right? As an auditor, how do I gain control on 100% of transaction for whatever fees that I get? You have to have some tools available with you to make sure that your work, once you've done, you can say that, okay, my control is much better on these transactions, and only test based checking might not help me. And mind you, a lot of auditors have started using it, especially the bigger ones. All of them have started using the techniques which kind of helps them make sure that they have control on the material portion of the balance sheet. These days, there are a number of opportunities which are available before us, wherein we as a finance and accounts professional can actually provide services to businesses across the globe. Then how does that happen? Right? So as soon as we say that, okay, in the new world where the business is available, wherein the professional opportunities are available across the globe, one thing which stands in the middle of it is the technology. We have to, and with the usage of technology, we can actually go ahead and start uh, uh, we can go ahead and be able to provide the best of the services to the businesses which are churning more transactions, have a very strong control on whatever we are doing, provide the services irrespective of whether the business or the client is in the same city or another country or another continent for that matter. Provide a opportunity for me to scale up my services. I can be an expert in one thing, and not a problem. I can make sure that the same expertise is same expertise services are available to the clients which are not in my city alone. And the last, be able to make sure that I'm able to meet the expectations of accuracy and real-time reporting of the shareholder. Right? We discussed in the very first slide that expectations of the shareholders is increasing, and their expectations is mostly about the real-time reporting, right? So technology becomes extremely important. So we discussed about technology, we discussed how has it evolved, but how does it have an impact on us? Before we move on to that, let me ask a very simple question. We said that we are already using technology. We are already using compliance tools. We are already using WhatsApp. We are using some, macros for a lot of reconciliation work that we do. But then why is it important? Why are we talking about here? We said that, okay, this is important because the business are bigger, because I need to provide services to the people who are not in my city and in the other cities. So the opportunity before me is that I move ahead and move towards being a digitally transformed organization, wherein I can provide services to anybody using technology, giving a very seamless experience to any of my users. That's what the digital transformation is all about. We talked about the Flipkart process, and if you look at it, the Flipkart process had multiple nodes. There was a bank who was receiving money. There was a seller who was to give the product. There is a logistics guy who has to pick and deliver. There is a buyer, and then the Amazon comes into play. And there are multiple technologies which are working at each and every level, right? The bank is using a different payment gateway. the seller is using a seller's platform, the logistics guy would be using a different vendor's platform. There'll be a separate platform which manages the compliance. There'll be a separate platform which manages the accounts and finance of Amazon, and there'll be a separate platform which manages the vendor management for Amazon. However, they did it in such a fashion wherein the whole transaction, all the technology that they were using was so seamlessly aligned that it seemed that there is no human which is working in it. Things happen automatically. And that's what digital transformation is all about. The same work could have been done by individuals, but they would have taken probably a week to complete that transaction. So removing people, adding a process, and integrating all of these different technologies to make sure that the experience of the user is seamless. Probably that's what digital transformation is all about, right? So it has 4 key features. One is that you start using digital technologies for all the possible processes that you have in our office. What are the possible processes? Let's start thinking about it. How can digital transformation have how can I think about digital transformation in my office? In my office, there are 2 to 3 different type of processes. One is my internal processes, which is about employee management, file management, client management, right? Then I provide services to the client, so I have services which are interrelated to client delivery. Audit assignments to be completed, stock audits to be completed. In case of CAs who are into industry, the AR process, the AP process to manage, the FP&A process to manage. So there are different processes that I have, which will involve a number of small processes. Can I see that if all of those processes can be automated slightly, maybe an end-to-end one, maybe a very small portion which actually takes a whole lot of my time, I improvise that and I ultimately put it on an auto mode. Okay, we'll come and discuss a few solutions which can be available with these use cases as well. But once we have done that, we try and integrate all of these in such a fashion that the data flow is standard. The data flow actually happens through the value chain without any break. And we just make sure that this happens in all the key areas of our business. We discussed that, right? Once it is done, we can actually go ahead and say that there is a digital transformation in the way we are working, right? At a chartered accountant's office, I can actually try and go for a digital transformation if I am able to manage my employees, I'm able to manage my customers, my files within my office, and I have started using technology to provide services to my clients. I guess these are the 4 nodes. If I can think about areas which we can improvise and automate in these 4 areas, probably I can say that I am moving towards a digitally transformed professional. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has a model called DCMP, which talks about how mature are we in terms of digital competence, right? And if you go deep into it, you would see that these are the 4 key nodes that are the most important in making sure that one can be derived as a mature case of digital competencies, right? But beyond that, one thing which is going to be the most important, which is about the culture and the acceptability of these changes, right? I'll take you back few years back wherein the ERP was getting implemented in a lot of clients and businesses place, and you would have seen multiple cases wherein ERP either didn't succeed, or even if they succeeded, they could not use it for its full competence, right? So there are multiple cases wherein the ERP was getting implemented and they could not do that. What was that? What is it that was wrong about it? What is it that couldn't work? However, one can always talk about multiple things, but one thing which is the most important is that the implementation gets flawed. Why does that happen? It's generally, one of the most important reason is that the acceptability of everybody in the whole value chain to that technology, because it is a change, and the change always require some bit of regular push from the management, right? Now there are 2 ways you could you could do that. One is that The top management one fine day goes ahead and says, okay, go ahead, we will improvise our systems, we will move towards ERP. Second is that they create a culture, and the culture is of experimentation and improvisation. Once a culture is set up in any organization of improvisation of the processes and experimentation with new things, the chances of better implementation of any new technology becomes high. So I believe once we move ahead, before we move ahead, all of us start thinking about it, and then all of us start giving a thought, as in, how can I make sure that people in my organization, not me, people in my organization start thinking about their processes and saying that, okay, how could I do the same task? How could I do the same task in such a fashion that my effort next time would be lower, the chances of mistake would be lower, and still the quality of product and the time taken is higher. Once you start doing that, you would see that any new new change, any new implementation that you would want to imbibe into your organization will have a better acceptability. A word of question here: till the time the culture is not about accepting a new technology, it will always be tough for implementing. I can give you examples of multiple cases wherein the best of the tools didn't work for an organization which was full of very enthusiastic people. I recently met a very senior person, and we were talking about digital transformation, automation. He said that, Arun, in my organization, I myself am an enthusiast of technology. I've not been able to get the a simple time and task management implemented in my place. Three best of the time and task tools that are available, costlier ones, we have chosen, we have tried and implementing them, including creating one for ourselves, but none of them worked. When I get into detail, it was all about the acceptability at the level, at the employee's level. Every time one or the other employee would come back and say that, okay, see, I'm not comfortable with it, and given I'm not comfortable with it, I'm not willing to take it. The senior members, if anybody here, would be able to correlate with it when during the ERP times, when ERP was getting implemented, a lot of people used to make sure that they are still keeping strong big Excel files to make sure that they had a control. It is closer to that, right? So you would want to make sure that the control is there, but at the same point in time, you should be accepting the change. And I guess that's something which will be a breaker or make or break kind of a situation. Organizations wherein people are open, are willing to accept new changes, will have much faster and quicker implementation versus the others, right? Let's move ahead and talk a bit about the technologies which are available for us. But before I do that, can you please tell me what is the most important technology that we as a chartered accountants need to know? Yeah, I'm not able to hear what you are saying because I'm not around you, and I'm not getting any chat response from you. I would assume that you are listening to me. So there are multiple technologies which are available before us. We are using MS Excels very regularly. We are there are custom built solutions which are being used by multiple chartered accountants these days. We have heard about RPAs. We have heard about AI, artificial intelligence. Some of the people will be using business intelligence tools like Power BI, which kind of helps you improvise the way you look at the data. There are machine learning based solutions which are available, which are kind of helping us big time. There is a blockchain kind of technology which can actually bring a whole lot of change in the way the transactions are recorded, and there are many more which are available. But what is the most important technology that one should know about? As a chartered accountant, people come back and say, which one technology should I use, which is the future? And I always come back and say that the golden rule is very simple. We are the solution providers. And if I'm a solution provider, for me, any solution is good till the time it is helping me to resolve the problem that is there before me.
So the golden rule to me is that a simple solution is the best solution. What it means is any problem can have multiple solutions. I would go ahead and choose only that solution which is the simplest and the cheapest for me. The solution which works best in my case might not work in your case. Let me take you to some examples about how AI is having an impact. I don't think the MS Excel and the custom built solution need a discussion, but I guess AI is something which is important. BI is something which is important. So I'll give you some very basic, examples of how these technologies are having an impact on the way we are looking at businesses, right? So amongst the most difficult professions or which are thought to be automated is medicine, right? You would not want to go and get yourself tested with uh, by a by a machine, right? You would always want to go to talk to an MD and discuss your problems, right? So there was a study on bots which was conducted a few years back, and the study was about medicines. It was about how does a bot perform as against very senior professional doctors, right? So for a specific particular problem, diagnose as well as the therapy on a specific set of people, a bots were tested. The bot's job was to test the people, analyze the result, do the diagnosis, provide the therapy, and the same process was done by the physical doctors, by the experienced team of doctors. The result was that the doctors could perform good, but bots outperformed the doctors in doing the right diagnosis, in providing the right therapy. And it was astonishing. It was astonishing because we were talking about the profession which is the one of the most personal kind of a profession. You cannot compare a doctor to another even if they have same set of experience, because it comes with the experience is what we say. We always go and talk to a doctor who's having more experience. Here we are saying no, experience is not something which is important. The bots performed better. It was an AI based study wherein the machines were tested on a particular platform. They were given multiple cases, and the artificial intelligence outperformed human intelligence. There are AI based reading and recording mechanisms which are available, which can actually read your invoice, create an accounting entry, and post it into your accounting system. You just have to audit it once. There are tools which are available which can do a complete end-to-end automation of an accounts payable process, including the PO matching for the bigger side of organization. Person do not even have to go ahead and share the invoice with somebody. The as soon as the vendor sends the invoice to our system, my system reads it, and the vendor can see that the invoice has been captured into the system. Every time the vendor can go ahead and check what is the status. An accounts payable guy doesn't have to actually spend too much of time apart from just an audit. There are blockchain based solution which can actually completely overhaul the full supply chain management. What it does is the buyer, the seller, the logistics guys, all of them are working on the same blockchain. As soon as the buyer gives a PO, the seller system gets updated accordingly. Their manufacturing process gets started. As soon as he confirms that the order is ready, the logistics guy gets activated. Once the order is delivered, the system automatically picks up the invoice and processes it. There is nobody who's required to review the transactions once a PO has been created. And this is to a level wherein it cannot be broken, and the whole process does not require even a single page to be printed out, right? So there are multiple technologies which are available around us. People who are listening to me, I would request you to please go through the Tata Sky study on how they digitally transformed the whole finance profession, finance department of this. They grew X times, they grew multiple times, but the finance team remained about the same. Finance team didn't grow, but it could help aid an exponential growth to the whole organization, which is completely directed. Right. So coming back to the point, my question was, what is the one or two key technologies that one has to learn before he says that, I am somebody who's an expert in technology? For me, according to me, there is no single technology that you should talk about. You should always be open to new technologies, because we are not thought to be, we should not be the expert in one technology, but we should be the one who understands the application of multiple technologies and who can actually provide a solution for any problem using any of these technologies, right? So my job, a chartered accountant's job, should be more about being able to understand the application of any technology in my problem and be able to understand what works best. So the golden rule again, simple is something which is correct for me. A solution which is simple and better is what is the right solution. And I would want to keep this with me through the rest of the presentation. Why? Because any use case that I talk about, I would always give you an example of things which can help a small size practitioner automate his process without spending too much of a cost, right? So let's move forward, and I'll just give you one very simple example of how would I look at any problem and a solution to it. Is that any problem that comes before you, I'm sure as a chartered accountant it will be related to a data. Try and see if you have capability to resolve that using an Excel. There are multiple kind of templates that you could use, and you can use macros and different features that Excel provide to solve a problem which has limited number of data sets, right? Up to 10,000 data sets, you can go ahead and manage that using Excel. If that doesn't work, move ahead, find out some of the SaaS-based ready tools, ready products which are available. For example, you're already using multiple SaaS-based accounting solutions to account for the books, to account for the bookkeeping of your clients, right? So MS Excel doesn't work. A SaaS-based product works pretty well for me. If the SaaS-based product is not able to provide the full solution of mine, can I do some customization onto that SaaS-based product? Right? For example, we are using Tele, perfect, but I want to do an inventory management and I need to make some changes. Not a problem. Go ahead, get an add-in so that my SaaS-based product can work according to me. So customization is something which is about available in most of the SaaS-based product these days, because people now know that it's not the ERP which works, wherein we ask the user to change his way of working. The systems are generally designed in such a manner that basic customization can happen. If you're at a level wherein even this cannot help and the size actually requires a custom build, that's the level wherein you should go for a custom build. So the whole circle is that I find ways of finding solution to my problem using very basic Excel and that kind of solutions. If that doesn't work, some SaaS-based product should be able to help me. Can I do some customization to it? If none of that works and my problem is bigger, I would be very happy going to the custom build solutions. But I guess that's only when I should go ahead and go there. So the golden rule again remains: simplicity is the best, and there is no single tool that can fit all of my problems, right? So what's important again is to be an expert in solving a problem rather than finding a solution which can actually solve my problem. So let's move ahead. Now when we talk about the technology, digital transformation, how does it have an impact on me? So I'm saying, as a chartered accountant, as I said, to me, the audience this time around is the young chartered accountants who are working. Just a minute, please. Yeah. So given that we are talking about the new chartered accountants or the small and medium-sized practitioners, for me, what are the key aspects of digital transformation at my office? Maybe my office, my own consulting office, the office at which I'm working. There are three key areas according to me, which are the most important. We discussed about it. I'll recap that. My own office processes. How do I manage my data? How do I manage my employees? How do I manage my clients? Second, how do I deliver the services that is required by my clients? It may be audit, compliance, accounting, compliance management for that matter. The third, which is an offshoot of both of these, if I can be and professional who can actually help others transform their processes. Now this is something which is very important. I would want to cover that towards the end. And the last, and but not the least, for sure, what are the risks of digital transformation and how do I make sure that the issues that can crop up, I am ready to solve that. In one of the seminars, somebody asked me that, you're talking about data management, centralization of data management, but what happens if I have data at one place and there is a loss? I guess that's where the last bit, which is security, comes into play. So we'll cover that. 5 more slides, 30 more minutes, and then we'll be over. So data management at CA's office is the first that I would want to come up with. So we said that, in my office, what are the areas wherein I can go ahead and improvise my work? So while talking about scale up, there is one thing which you would have noticed is about the process there. You have to follow a process to make sure that, whatever work that I do, I am able to use the same work over and again for my benefits. In collaboration, we discussed that, if one particular partner has done some work, partner 2 and 3 should get benefit of that. And how does that happen? It happens by making sure that the data is managed in such a manner that I do not have to follow up each other to get access to it. At the same point in time, I have to make sure that the data is available only to that person to whom it matters, right? I should not be giving, I should not be using my data in such a manner or putting my data in such a manner that it is available to anybody and everybody for that matter. For this, I would like to take you back a few years back, as in how a typical CA office used to work. Just think about it. How, we talked about books. We talked the same way the files used to work, right? At a chartered accountant's office across India, the office used to be full of files, of physical files, separate file for income tax, separate file for ROC and other matters. And whenever there is any transaction which happens, whenever there is any document which gets signed, the document comes into the office, it goes into the file, and then gets placed into its proper place, right? And the CA's office was thought to be a person who, and if any data has gone into his office, it will be safe. Why? Because there was a process of data moving into a file and the file going into a folder at a particular safe place at one particular location. So next time when the same client comes back, or I need to work on the same client, I would go into the same folder, pick up the file, work on it, put it back. Tomorrow my partner wants to work on it. He would again do the same thing. He will go to the same folder, pick it up, pick up the file, work on it, put it back. Are we doing the same thing in today's era, wherein the document is not coming in the physical form, and hence it is not going into a physical file, and hence there is no folder / cupboard wherein the files are being kept? I guess this is what centralization of files is all about, right? In my office 20 years back, I had created a centralized place for all the ROC files, wherein all the files of my clients would go with a proper naming convention attached to it. The same process is required to be done in my office in today's time as well. And I'm happy to see that a lot of CAs have started using it, but is it that all of us are doing? Probably no. So centralization of data is something which is the most important in today's time. Why? Because we are working on so much of data that it's really very tough for you to understand whether you are working on a correct file or not. Close your eyes and just think about it. Where are you keeping all the data? in your office, where do you keep all the data? Is it available in multiple laptops of the people who are working at your office? How do you share the data? If a client or an employee wants to work on a particular file, is it that you send the file in an email, he works on it and sends it back to you? Is it that you allow USB drives at your office, wherein every time a file, somebody has to work on a file, the file moves into a USB drive, goes into somebody else's laptop, he works on it, and it comes back to you? If at all you have a physical server at your office, do you have an access control wherein only that person has an access to a client's file who is required to work on it? Do you have a backup plan if at all, God forbid, something happens to all the files that you're working on? I guess this is all the problem statements that I just talked about in terms of how are we managing our data at office. The solution is you make it a centralized database. Every data remains at one place. It is managed in such a manner that you have the control on who's accessing what. You are making sure that the collaboration is available to all the relevant team members, and there is a security and backup plan which is available for you. All packed into one. Your office has a proper data management setup available at you. Is it important? Yes, it is very important for you to be able to make sure that you are using the same file over and again. It is important because you would want to make sure that multiple files are not kept, because it actually leads to a lot of confusion and at times creates a problem for you before the authorities. Just think about it. The first set of balance sheet that you create for any client, how different could it be by the time it gets signed because of multiple adjustments that it goes through, right? Can it create a confusion in somebody's mind probably 5 years down when he looks at version 1 versus version 10 and he says, oh my god, I'm not sure whether why these adjustments were passed through. Take a case wherein an income tax department person looks at it, right? So there are so many confusion that one can have, and there are multiple files lying in your systems and you are not 100% sure whether they are correct or not. What are the solution? The solution is simple. As I said, centrally maintain all the data and give access to that database to all the employees with a pinch of access control which is available at your end. So tomorrow, if a particular employee goes, you know that you can actually, at a click of a button, stop the access of your files to that particular person. And at the same point in time, at the entry gate only, you have seen that, okay, only the relevant member gets to see the files, right? Practically speaking, what are the solutions? As I said, every problem has a solution which is very cheap. In your case, you can go ahead and talk about Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive. All of them are offering a decent workspace for up to 4-5 members team. Google Drive charges some $1,200-1,300 for 100 GB data for full year. You can keep all the files at one location. You can maintain files by your client's name and can give access to your employees based on their requirements. So I have 5 clients. I have 5 employees. The first 4 employees work on first 4 clients, and the 5th one works on all of them. So the 5th one gets access to all the 5 clients, and rest of the employees get access to only the relevant client for them. Tomorrow, if my client wants to share some information with me, I create a separate folder, give access of that folder to that client of mine. Now the client doesn't have to do anything. He has to have a simple folder in his drive, in his laptop. Any document that he saves there gets saved in my laptop as well. So effectively what I've done is I've made sure that all the files are at one location. They are not dependent on a particular person. I do not call for a mail or a backup using USB. and hence I reduce creation of multiple versions. If at all the things are bigger, you have an option for a physical server that you can create in your organization and provide for a remote access to the same to your employees. That can give all the solutions, all the things that you talked about in Google Drive, add a hash of security plus the scalability at your office. At one particular time you can create one server or say 1 TB data, and then you are good to go for a long period of time. One time investment, you don't have to do much about it. Only thing is that you'll have to assess your requirements once and have to put in your money as an investment into that high grade server. The third option could be that you could go for a cloud-based server, which is a monthly SaaS-based cost. Today I am a 5-member team. A 4 GB of a 4-core machine is good for me. A 50 GB space is good for me. I'll go with that. Pay monthly fees for that. Tomorrow I have got a bigger client. 5 more employees are getting added. Not a problem. I'll just double my server space. A year down, it could be tripled, and I pay for what I use. So effectively a pay as you go. So in a nutshell, centralizing the database is extremely important before we go ahead and say that, okay, I am in a completely automated organization. First and the foremost is that person who's doing the accounting doesn't have to share the data to somebody who's doing the compliances for him, right? So let's move ahead. What could be the other ways through which I can improvise my office setup? Managing my time and task. So Anshulji was talking about valuing your time. And this is something which is the most important, value your time, value your employees' time, and make sure that the client pays well for it. That's pretty interesting. But how do you do that? If you get one particular project, can you let me know at any point in time how many hours of work did you spend on the last audit that you completed the day before? I gave a pause for a reason. Just think about it. If you could let me know if you had, the last time you, did a stock audit for a particular organization. Stock audit is simpler. Last time you did an audit, a bigger audit for the best client of yours, how many hours of your work versus your partner's work versus your manager's work versus your article assistant's time went there? And was it really profitable? How much money did you make? You would say, no, I didn't spend any money. I had some out-of-pocket expense, which I got back from them. But hey, as Anshul said, every moment that you spend for a client has a cost. It has a cost of your time because you would have gained salary during that period of time. It would have the operational cost to you, and it would have the opportunity cost of you. Which means that for me to be able to scale up, I have to make sure that the employees and me and my partners, whenever they are spending any time on anything, I'm able to track that. Why is it important? It's important because one, I need to make sure that I'm optimally using my resources. One. Second is that I need to make sure that work that I've done or work that is required to be done at my end are completed on time. Third is wherein I say that, okay, can I know the profitability of my particular project, right? You would say probably, this might be something which is required for a bigger organizations. Yes, maybe you're right. But at the same point in time, let me give you an example. A particular client, we have been working with them for a long time. He came back and said that, I want you to reduce the fees for this particular assignment. I said, not a problem. Let's go ahead and do that. But wait a moment. Let's just see how much effort am I putting for this particular client for this particular work of yours. We have been creating these, timesheets since then. And at that point in time, when we extracted the whole work, I told him, and actually the document told him that, the partner level person has been spending about 6 to 7 hours per week for multiple one-off queries that you have been sending. In his mind, there was no cost to it. He was told that the manager level person has been spending 10 hours per week on an average because of the issues that your team has had and we were resolving during the whole of last month. It was not there in his head because his employees were calling up the manager directly and getting it resolved, and he didn't knew about it. The third thing, he was told that on the last full month, there were 20 equivalent days of 3 articles who was sitting at your office working and closing so and so work for you. Let's do a back calculation and calculate how much fees should I get on all the work that I did. He has not reduced the fees since then. The learning is that one, if I have record of what I have done, where I have done, people would value me more. I will be able to value my time and my projects costing better. And third, and the most important, I would have a better control on whatever is happening at my office. 7 years back when I started my consulting practice, one thing which I was always working on was how do I make sure that the prices is standard. We were into virtual CFO, which is about kind of outsourcing the end-to-end of finance. And at that point in time, whenever you talk to somebody, you would say, what is your cost? And I would always go back and say, hey, I cannot tell you till the time I know what is the work. And he says, okay, which means that you have to discuss it in detail. So the first and the foremost was standardizing the cost. Can I standardize the cost of my services? No. What we did was we standardized our time cost. And once it happens, when I talk to him, I say, okay, let me know how many transactions, let me know how many times do I need to call, let me know how complex it is. Probably 5 minutes discussion, I would say, see, I think in general, it would require 5 hours of my time, 10 hours of my manager's time. It will cost, say, 40,000 rupees a month. So the back calculation is much easier for me. Right? So ultimately, managing time and task for you is something which is important. How do you do that is all up to you, but it can actually work wonders. It can work wonders in giving a stronger control in your hand. It can work wonders in making sure that you are communicating right with your client. Coming back to what are the solutions? So this is the Gyan, but what is the solution? Again, the solutions are multiple which are available. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has had some tie-ups with a few people, a few service providers. So you can go to their website and check some of the SaaS-based solutions which are available. Some of them are really available at zero cost for a small size organization. Go ahead and do that. You do not want to pay anything, there are very simple tools that can be available. If you want, I would have some. I can actually send it to you. Drop a mail to me, and I'll share. I had created a template wherein the employee had to just log into simple Google Sheet, 2 transactions that he did during the day, what time he came in, what time he went out, what is the project that he worked upon, how many hours he spent, and the output was very, very neat. So it can be as simple as a very simple template, Excel based, Google Sheet based template that you can use. You can use some of the SaaS based platforms which are available really cheap using ICA's platform. If not, there are multiple profession based tools which are available. You just do a Google search of time and task management, and there will be multiple solutions which are available. A word of caution: time and task would work only when you as a team are accepting it and the team is willing to fill in that information, or you know the right way to make sure that the team fills in that information. So the culture is something which is the most important, but once you imbibe that the value of time and task management to your team, that actually works wonders. The information works wonders, right? So let's move ahead and talk about this customer relationship management. So we talked about data management, we talked about office management. What about customer relationship or client management? One would say that in a chartered accountant's office, what is it? Client management. I am managing my clients, I know them and I talk to them on daily basis. I don't think I need it. I need a management solution for that. Probably you're right, probably you're not. You're right, because in the previous times, the clients were willing to pay you for you, which is the comfort that you've got with you. But with the advent of more technological tools available to him and more information which is available before him, you would know that most of the time he would come back with a blog saying that this is what others are writing, which means that I have to be somebody who's showing him that I am slightly ahead of others. And if that is the case, I have to have some processes in. What kind of processes would it be? Do I have proposals? Do I create proposals before I work? Which means that my client knows about the cost of work that I'm doing. In the new age practice, I believe while scale up was being talked about, this is something which is important. You have to be at a state wherein the clients and you are at a very high transparency level. And if that is the case, proposals are being sent. In your office, how do you issue your invoices? Are your invoices being issued using Excels, or you are using some systems, very basic solutions which can help you create some interesting, beautiful, invoices which are connected to your proposals? In our office, we do have multiple, retainership setups, which effectively means that every month the same kind of amount gets billed to the client, or the same client gets billed multiple times based on the work that is completed. So do I have a system which can actually help me make sure that, one, I am billing correctly, two, I'm following that up on a regular basis and not when towards the end of the year, and at the same point in time I make sure that I have sent a message out to him that this guy works on a particular process. I mind you, in my 15 years of experience, of which 6 or 7 years that I've spent in consulting, the clients start valuing you more when they see that, okay, it's not you who's calling for the money, it's the process which is calling for the money. A very simple example, in a particular client's place, what we did was we set up an automated reminder setup for all the clients. So as soon as the invoice was overdue, an automatic reminder starts hitting the the client's email. And what they saw was that some of the clients of theirs who were generally delaying the payment started making the payment on time. So when they got into detail, they saw that most of those clients were not actually habitually delaying it. They were delaying because they were not getting a right reminder. And for me, or for the client, he didn't want to reach out to the client saying that, hey, I want money. A simple automated reminder kind of helped them big time. Same thing could happen in our case as well. We were talking about working capital in our office, and we should think about ways through which you do not have to be personally available before your clients to ask for the money. Right? What are the solutions? You can go for multiple templates which are available in Google Sheets, in Excel. There are multiple solutions like Zoho and all which are available for for the small time, for the small professionals, and for the small businessmen. Some of these tools are available at literally free of cost, right? So you do not have to spend too much time, too much money, but still for the client you would come out as somebody who is working in a professional manner, right? Just think about it. How does your invoice look as against a big firm? But does it really need that much of time and effort? Probably no. Let's move ahead. We've got another 15-20 minutes to close. I would be able to close it in the next 15 minutes, and I would wait for your Q&As, any question that you might have before we close it. So we talked about digital transformation at my office, right? But at the same point in time, in my office or in my services, there are multiple solutions and services that I provide to my clients. Are there ways through which I can actually, improvise or automate my work out there, right? I will not get into detail about it, but would still touch upon a few things, right? So we talked about audit and assurance, and we said that we are at a time when control is important. We are at a time when making sure that I have a better control on making sure that the figures are correct. In the today's time when the businesses are churning much more bigger transactions these days, there are multiple checklists and planners which are available, which can make sure that you do not end up missing out something. And I'm sure some of you have already started using it. But I would also want you to think about ways through which the robotics and AI can help in specific set of clients and businesses, making sure that your services are unparalleled. Now you would say, how does it happen? I'll give you an example. I'm working for a client whose job is about trading. Okay. Now in the trading business, what is happening is that I find that the biggest loophole could be that I am paying multiple vendors multiple prices. I need to make sure that a same vendor is not paid different prices for the same product. How do you do that? You would say, Arun, I would do some test check to make sure that numbers are correct. Probably right. But I would say, can there be a very simple tool which one can use to make sure that 100% of transactions gets checked and tabulated, both inventory wise as well as client wise? You would say, is it viable? I'm telling you from a live example. We are working with one of our colleague and find out this particular problem for them. Once the solution was implemented at the client's place, as an internal auditor, the consultant got great brownie point because he could find out multiple cases wherein the same vendor was being paid higher prices for the same product as against another vendor. Some were viable, some were not, and the systems that they had created was not able to check it. Why? Because system was based on PO, and that's where the things were ended. So as an auditor, we did our job well. Were we able to check it using test? No, because the transactions were probably 5% of the total transactions, and my test was not more than 10%, and I kind of missed it. Take another example. During the COVID times, most of the auditors were not able to do a physical check of the inventory or the fixed assets of their clients. Some of the bigger clients, some of the bigger audit clients or audit consultants, what they did was they said that we want to make sure that your, at least for this year onwards, that your stock has an IoT based tool, which are your warehouses have IoT based tools which are attached to the inventory, at least the movable inventory, which can actually give me a right information at any point in time in terms of the whereabouts and the quantity. You would say, is it possible? It is something which is happening in multiple industries. There are IoT tools which can actually tell the age as well as the whereabouts of the fixed asset, the movable fixed asset. Take an example of logistics business. Right. And the most important then is the data analytics. Given that we are already saying that there are so much information which is available around us, one thing which can help us make sure that we have a better control is that we start using some data analytics tool. The Power BI is something which is available to all of us. You can do some basic Google research and find out. The data analytics actually can give me so much of information and exception reports that I can actually make sure that I have provided much better work. I'll give you an example. We were doing a stock audit at a very big press, and what we found was that every time there was a huge variation that they had, but the value came in when we did an analysis for the variation for last 5 years and could find a trend, and the trend could actually result into a big problem, finding a big problem that the whole system had. As an individual, I was not able to find it. The systems are perfect. But when we got into data, the analytics found that the way they are entering the data had a flaw. The SAP, the ERP was picking the data wrongly, because of which every time there was a huge variation, and they could find it, fix it, and now we are going to be talking about a different problem next time around. So there are multiple tools and solutions which can help in the audit and assurance. Same way the accounts and outsource, it's a booming profession wherein Indian accountants are helping businesses across the globe managing their accounts, probably working out of here. Automation of AR and AP is something which is the talk of the time. I talked about a solution which is an OCR based solution, an AI based solution, which can read the invoice, create an accounting, do the research, share with you the exception reports, and then push the inventory and the invoicing, the accounting entry into your system. Reporting and dashboard, we talked about data analytics. More we say, lesser it is. Just think about it from your client's perspective. What value does he have when you complete an accounting and give it back to him? The value is not in making sure that the accounts are complete. The value is in him being able to read the numbers the way he wants to. Every business would have a different way to looking at the numbers, but I, as a professional, can have ways through which I can actually provide the same data in a slightly different way. You would be sending MIS to your clients every month. Just try and do some basic analysis, add one chart to it, and see how he reacts to it. I guess there are multiple ways in whatever you are doing for your clients. Think about it. There will be problems of your clients which you can actually help resolve using a very basic technology which is around you. I had a third point, which was again the important one, wherein I was saying that, I can go ahead and transform my office. I can make sure that the data management is better. I can make sure that I'm able to manage my times, and I have a control on the tasks and whether they are completed on time or not. I can start thinking about, ways through which I can use technology for client delivery. But once I've done both of them, I think as a young chartered accountant, one area which is literally virgin for us is using technology to be able to provide the transformation services to our clients. One may ask me whether this is the right way to think about it. One may ask whether we are the right professionals to think about technology. Probably no, but probably right, probably yes. When the ERP was coming, a lot of chartered accountants and budding chartered accountants actually went ahead and started providing a service called functional consultants. In your city, there will be multiple people who would be working for the likes of Infosys and the TCS. The chartered accountants who are providing a service called functional consultants. What does it mean? A functional consultant is the person who understands the business in the transaction and who understands the language in which a coder thinks. He's the one who becomes a bridge between the real user and the technology person. And he understands the problem person A and gives it back to person B, making sure that the output is perfect. Just think about it. Isn't this the real value add that we as chartered accountants do? When I work with a client during my articleship, when I work with a client as an employee, when I work with a client as a consultant, the real value that I drive is to him is that I understand the business, I understand the financials, and link that with the business, and I can actually drive a story using both of these understanding of mine. Right? May it be compliance, may it be management consultancy or whatever. So if I am working on an audit assignment, and during that audit assignment, I get to understand that in this particular business, a control on vendor management is the most important. Can I go ahead and say that, hey, In your business, vendor management is the most important. You should go ahead and find a way to automate the control on it. Just one example. When I'm doing an internal audit and I see that there is a loophole in the way somebody is managing the inventory, even though he's might be using the best of the ERPs, you would still be finding issues there. Can you just go ahead and start talking to him about solutions which can help him improvise on it? Mind me, it would add a whole lot of value. It would add a whole lot of value to this particular person, as against just letting him know the problem. And in no time, you would know that this is a very unique area of practice that you can have. Today, many clients are working about, everybody is working towards digital transformation, right? Because that's what is the need of the hour. If businesses are looking at digital transformation, he would be talking to an IT guy, right? But who would be a right functional consultant? A chartered accountant. So this can be an area of practice that we should have, an area of practice that we can have if this is something that interests you. You know, if you are able to do some transformation at your office, you've had a hands-on using some technologies while delivering services to your client, you might as well start talking to your client and say that, hey, you could also start thinking about it and add saving to whatever you're working. Some of the areas where I can give you some use cases. The travel and expense management at your client's place, how are they doing? Just think about it. I'm not going to be giving the solution here, but I'm just giving you some of the use cases wherein you would find that your clients might be having issues in control, in overspending, in proper reporting, and you would find and you know that there are solutions available to it. Reimbursement management for them, reconciliation. The bigger the business, the bigger the challenge it is. How are they reconciling their things? And one might one very funny thing that I've seen in general is that there are many businesses who are completely dependent on some of these big tech giants, even for their invoicing. If you work for some of the clients, for some of the restaurants, not the big times, who are delivering through Zomatos and Swiggies of the world, you would see that they are completely 100% reliant on whatever information that Zomato and Swiggy is giving them for their sales. You would find people who are receiving money from payment gateways like Paytm and PayU accepting the money as it is without going ahead and doing a reconciliation whether they have received full money or not. One might come back and say that, hey, Paytm has systems and it is tech driven, it should not have bugs and issues. I can tell you, we have got money saved for our clients using reconciliations in that case. And if you can do that once, mind it, your value before your client would be completely different. He would start talking to you for any digital transformation or technical issue that he might have in his business. We might not be perfect in understanding the technicals, but we are the best in terms of understanding the functionalities and knowing the risks around it. Just give it a thought, and probably we'll discuss about it in detail, because this is something that can actually take good 1.5 hour long discussion about opportunities that one can have, and I guess that's the right discussion that we should have. Having said that, there is one question that Sri Devi ji has asked, which is about where can we find technical support for implementing any of RPA tools. Ma'am, there are there are solution providers which are available for any kind of implementation support that you might need for the RPA. You need to tell me if you could share with me in my personal chat about the platform that you are using for the RPA. I can actually connect you with a few people, but in general, you do a very basic research about the RPA platform and their service providers, and you will find many in your city as well. So let's move ahead and close the session now. It's been about 1 hour 20 minutes that I've been talking. So we, while I was discussing about digital transformation and the technology, I said that there is one thing which is the most important, which is about um, how does I make sure that the risks that come along with it are very well known to me and I am ready for it. Now, what are the risks? The risk is that the data, when it gets centralized, the data which is available online, there is always a risk that somebody destroys it or somebody takes it away from me, right? So uh, while in a physical office kind of a situation, the risk was for fire. The digital arena, the risk is of theft. What kind of theft would it be? It could be an internal theft wherein somebody from within my organization steals the data if I have not been in a good relationship with them. My employee, my articles, my partner, whosoever. It could be by a mistake. I have kept the data at one place. By mistake, somebody has clicked the delete button and the data is gone forever. Somebody has deleted the data for a reason. There was a joke which was about CNR article having discussion that for full 3 years the CA was kept on delaying things for the article, and so the CNR article said, okay, now the document is signed, here goes the data. Joke only. I'm sure we as professionals do not get into that, but for sure there are risks. There are internal risks to the data that you keep. Can you save yourself against that? Yes, for sure. Does it mean that I have to start working on getting all of the data in physical format? Probably no. That would not solve the purpose. What are the external thefts before you? We all know, there are so many, ransomware attacks and virus attacks that we have seen around us. The Haldirams of the world and the big firms of the world are getting these attacks. And mind you, one can always come back and say that I am a small firm who would do a ransomware attack. We know many cases wherein the data was, kind of encrypted and a ransomware attack was done and a ransom was asked for. And for that matter, there are cases wherein we have seen people had to end up paying the money to get the stuff back. One is that I've got my stuff back, but another thing which is the most important is that there is a risk of an important data of client getting shared with somebody that we do not want. How do you make sure in that case that the data that is there with you, whether yours or your clients, is safe? And the business continuity plan kicks in if at all in a virtual situation anything untoward happens. Two things. One is that start working towards making sure that your laptops, computers are secured. The USBs are not available for everybody to use. You give it to only limited, the access of USB is available to only limited people, because that's one gateway through which the data leaks out. One might say that, why would, it would create a problem for me because I would not be able to share my employees would not be able to share the data using USB. I would say you do not have to, you should not think about USB as a way to share the data. Stop, the social media sites at your laptops and websites. They are another gateway through which the virus and the ransomware attacks can happen, because the files that get downloaded using some of these sites can have an impact. Apart from the productivity that it happens, right? So if your office systems do not allow people to open their Facebook accounts in Naukri.com, does it have an impact on the productivity? Once done, you can always do a regular health checkup of your systems to make sure that the basic settings are such that in general the virus and ransomware attacks would be lower, and the employees related or internal theft related risks are lower again. But once it is done, the backup has to be ready. You should always have a backup for the data which is available to you. If not more, at least every 24 hours a data should be available. A backup should be there. How does that happen? You can do that using Google Drives. We talked about it. Very cheap, 1300 per year, right? you can do you can keep the data on hard disks. A lot of people do that. They every 15 days keep all of the data on a particular hard disk, keep it safe, good way, but might not be able to save you from ransomware attacks, because ransomware encryption moves from the server to your drive as well. And the third one, which is the latest one, wherein you can go ahead and start making sure that the data is backed up into cloud in an image format, which effectively means that if you have 100 GB data, or 70 GB data is created by encrypting it, and it remains in the cloud at your disposal. Every 24 hours, every change that has happened gets updated as an image, which effectively means that today, if I were to check, I will be able to know what was the file's version on day 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right. So if at all anything untoward happens, the worst case, the data loss is for 24 hours. Even if it is a ransomware attack, I do not have to worry. I'll just write off pipe of everything and start working. So that's the that's the broad understanding that I wanted to share with you about technology and its impact on us, and some of the thoughts and use cases that has helped people. And a thought: can we be a consultant on digital transformation? Before we close, I would want you to see one beautiful video about how a future could be in a tech-driven world. I have just written here the link of the video. It's a YouTube link, https sm.iso.in/work, and it talks about how machines can actually do an unthinkable job. Do have a look, and please do share with me your feedback around it. I'm open for the discussion and the question and answer, if at all there's any. I would request the secretary to please take us.
Arun, thank you. Just give me it. I will check any questions are there.
Yep.
Where can you find technical support of implementing
I've
any?
taken that up.
Yeah. What about business developments, like keeping in touch with business entities? I think it was an old session, I think.
Yeah, it was an old session, but if you want, I can take it up.
Yeah, please.
Sure. I guess this is an interesting one. I guess Anshul ji did touch upon it. I guess as a professional, the real value of ours is about the relationship that we create, and the relationship that you create with the business entities go a long way, right? Because I was talking to somebody today, and this thing came up that this particular person is not being very proactive in our conversation. Should I go ahead and talk to him or not? And I said, you as a solution provider should be available in the first row before this guy, right? In a movie theater, you have multiple rows, right? So in a theater kind of a setup, just think about it. The person who's sitting on the first row has the highest chance of attracting an attention, right? If I'm available there, that's the best that I could do, right? Given that I am not expected to spend any time in advertising myself. So if that is the case, keeping in touch with the business entities, friends, and your potentials is the right way for you to go ahead and do the development of your professional opportunities.
Yeah, it is questions related to the business development, Arun, and just where me and myself, my friend is discussing about this Google Drive backup.
Yes.
How it is safety exactly, Google Drive backup?
So Google Drive, the safety, you would generally look at it this way, that it is pretty safe. Why? Because the access is available to you, and if your password is not yeah, so Google Drive is pretty safe. Google being the giant, it is always a few steps ahead of the ransomware attacks and
the virus attacks that one can have. There was a time when we used to say that, okay, there is a risk of ransomware attack on even the Google Drive one, but now Google has recently updated its system, and now you would see that the encryption doesn't pass on. We were talking about backups. So if you are using Google Drive now, you can see that you can actually check the version of your files per day. Every time it gets changed, a separate version is created. So that actually tells you that the backup is such that even if somebody has by mistake deleted your data, it would still be available with you. You can always go ahead and restore that if at all that's a risk, right? However, one thing that I would want to highlight again to you, that it will be upon you as in how do you set it up. The access control is going to be the most important. If you do not do an access control, that kind of opens the risk at your organization.
Okay. That is backup and sync option. Google Drive. You can use it, no?
You
Okay.
can use backup and sync if you want to back it up to your laptop. And
Okay.
specific cases, you can say that, okay, I do not want this to be specific to my laptop, in which case you can actually use the E version of the drive, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Arun. It's an excellent session. Because that is the reason we always use that CA is using technology, robotic, etc., and virtual edit, etc., etc. The caption of the topic is given technology and CA. How important! I heard the recently normally tax edit season, the professional hacker will hack and they'll start asking the money. It's the client data. They know chartered accounts are very busy and how they are sitting in the late night. So easy to catch that the person whose light is in running in office and late night, it is definitely chartered account office in the tax season. So again, that also scaling up the practice by handled by Anshul Singhal. So it's an excellent session, sir. So both of you address from as program our friend Dheeraj Sharma that the 2 days entirely planned and the entire 2 days program I can say it's a very successful because of the knowledge you shared. That is a knowledge means Kannada, it is a Jnana. And Dasoha means without any expectation sharing a knowledge. That is our
Sure.
motto Jnana Dasoha. You both the people done a wonderful job, C. Anshul and Arun, on
Yeah.
behalf of all the viewers, active viewers, and on behalf of managing committee members of Bangalore branch. And bottom of my heart, I wholeheartedly thank C. Anshul Singhal for his excellent presentation and art of scaling up the practice. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much,
Thanks a lot, sir.
Anshul.
Thanks a lot,
And
sir.
on behalf of all the viewers and managing committee members of Bangalore branch, in bottom of my heart, I thank CA Arun Aggarwal for addressing taking session on technology and CA. Thank you very much, Arun.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Yes, it is very much important. Kindly share your both the presentation we are uploading
I'll
in
do that.
our
Thanks a lot for the session, and it was such a wonderful session that I had with you, and I would like to congratulate Ravindraji for completing a century. I was the chairman of Gurugram branch last year. I know how much time and effort does it take to create a program, and I'm really elated to see that you've touched a magical number of 100 this time around. I'm really appreciate you, and hats off to you for such a session, such a program, and such a way that you have completed the full year. This year was not thought to be the easier one for the chairman of the branch for sure, but you have actually used this as an opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Arun. You know the
Thank
pain
you.
of
Thanks, Ravindraji. I would just like to add one thing, Ravindraji. There is a French, cycling race which happens very regularly every year, and it's a very marathon cycling race which goes from plains and mountains and various areas. It is said that the person who takes the lead in the mountainous area, which is the most difficult terrain, is the person who. So probably you have taken this.
Yeah.
I hope that you win the race.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what I thought is I can only take a defense player, even though I am an aggressive player for serving for the members. So due to Corona, I have take only defense. First, I have to protect our members and make active our members for in the learning process. That we have done it protective model. And in cricket test, you can say as a night watchman. I'm just handing over this night watchman for Corona. So taking back to the next year, to the pattern we are handing over in February. So hopefully you both the people have witnessed for the 99 session, because making 100, the 99 number is very important. So my special thanks to the both the dignitaries. Members, I thank each one of you. Definitely, you all who are listening this program will register for our Jnana Dasoha 100th program. We are taking 15 days break. That is, the break means the 15 days, the 1 week we are spending for tax study, and next week again you can concentrate on our Jnana Dasoha. After that, again we will continue continuously Jnana Dasoha programs. So kindly register for that 100th program. So once again, a special thanks to C. Anshul and C. Arun Aggarwal. Thank you
Thanks a
very
lot, sir.
much.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you,
Thanks to
sir.
all
Thanks a
viewers.
lot. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.